Every personal finance creator on the internet will give you the same answer to this question. And mathematically, they're right. Invest your extra cash, earn 8 to 10% in the market, your mortgage is only at 7%. You come out ahead. Math done, video over. Except it's not done, because that math is describing a spreadsheet, and you don't live in a spreadsheet. You live in a world with layoffs, with recessions, with difficult bosses and unexpected medical bills, and nights where you can't sleep because the weight of your financial obligations feels like it's sitting on your chest. So in this video, I'm not going to fight the math. I'm going to go somewhere the math never goes. There are 4 things that happen to your life: your decisions, your courage, your stress levels, and your freedom when you carry a mortgage or when you don't. Nobody talks about them. By the end of this video, you will. Validating the invest instead math. Let's be fair to the other side first. Say you have an extra $200 a month. If you throw that at a 7% mortgage, you'll save real money on interest and shave years off your loan. That's genuinely good.
But if you invest that same $200 a month at a long-term average market return of around 9% annually, a reasonable historical estimate, over 20 years, you end up with significantly more money on paper. The market wins. That's a real argument. I'm not dismissing it. But here's what that calculation never includes. Point 1. The job security you didn't know you were buying. Here's a scenario. Imagine you're 6 months away from paying off your mortgage entirely. Your boss calls you into the office and asks you to do something that makes you deeply uncomfortable. Fudge some numbers, mistreat a colleague, compromise your integrity. What do? Now run the same scenario with 27 years left on your mortgage and a payment that takes up a third of your take-home pay. Suddenly, the calculus changes. The discomfort of the situation has to be weighed against the terror of losing your income. And a lot of people, quietly, reluctantly, choose to stay, to comply, to swallow it. That's not a small thing.
A paid-off home, or even a significantly reduced mortgage, changes your relationship with your employer in a way that no investment account quite does. It's not just that you could walk away. It's that they know you could walk away. That shifts the entire dynamic. I call this financial courage. It's the ability to negotiate from strength, to say no to things that don't serve you, to make career pivots that feel too risky when you're one missed paycheck away from trouble. The mortgage doesn't just cost you interest. It costs you options. Point 2. Liquidity is great until you lose your income. The best argument for investing over paying down the mortgage is liquidity. A brokerage account is accessible. You can tap it in an emergency. Your home equity, once it's in the walls, isn't going anywhere fast. That's a reasonable point, but it has a fatal flaw. Think about when you're most likely to need that money. Job loss, a medical crisis, a recession that shrinks your hours or wipes out your business. Those events don't arrive in a stable, predictable world. They arrive in a chaotic one.
And here's the problem. Markets crash during exactly those moments. The very crisis that cost you your income is the same crisis that pushes your portfolio down 30, 35, maybe 40%. Your emergency fund just took a massive hit at the worst possible time. A paid-off home doesn't do that. It doesn't lose value overnight. It doesn't require a monthly payment you can't make. In a genuine emergency, no mortgage payment is a lifeline. That's called asymmetric risk, and it doesn't show up in any spreadsheet I've ever seen. Point 3. Stress has a dollar value nobody calculates. This might be the most underrated point in this entire debate. Debt creates background noise. Not loud noise, you get used to it, but it's there. A low, constant hum of financial anxiety that colors every decision you make. It affects your sleep, it shows up in your relationships, it changes the way you think about risk and opportunity. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever made a worse financial decision because you were stressed or desperate? Have you ever taken a job you didn't really want because you needed the income? Stayed in a situation longer than you should have because leaving felt too risky?
Most people have. And that pattern, decision after decision made from a place of financial pressure, adds up to real, measurable losses over a lifetime. Research consistently shows that debt-related stress is one of the leading sources of both relationship strain and career underperformance. You cannot put that on a spreadsheet, but it is absolutely real money. Removing your mortgage doesn't just save interest, it removes a permanent psychological tax on every decision you make for the rest of your life. Point 4.
the freedom to build wealth differently. The day your mortgage is gone, something interesting happens. All the money that was flowing to the bank every month is now yours, completely. And you're not just saving on interest, you've unlocked an income stream you can redirect however you want. Here's the shift. Now you can invest aggressively from a position of total security. You don't need the market to perform. You don't need a good quarter to keep the lights on. You're investing from abundance, not from fear.
And that matters more than most people realize. The quality of financial decisions made without pressure is systematically better. You're not panic selling in a downturn. You're not pulling money out at the wrong time because you need it. You're patient, strategic, calm. Investing from a paid-off home isn't financially inferior. In real life, with real human psychology, it might be the smartest version of wealth building there is. The honest counterargument. Now, let me steelman the other side for a moment, because you deserve the full picture. If you locked in a 3% mortgage rate in 2021, the math against paying it off early is genuinely hard to beat. That's cheap money, historically cheap. Investing the difference at market rates over 20 years almost certainly wins in that scenario. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. And if you don't have an emergency fund yet, or you're leaving employer retirement matching on the table, or you have high-interest debt sitting somewhere else, pay off the mortgage last. The foundations have to come first. This isn't a universal rule. It's a framework for thinking about your specific life. And part of that thinking is being honest about when the math actually is the right guide. So who does early mortgage payoff actually make sense for? People in volatile industries, tech, media, sales, hospitality, where income can disappear fast. Single-income households where one job is carrying everything. Anyone within 10 to 15 years of retirement who needs to lock in their baseline expenses. And honestly, anyone who has ever made a financial decision from a place of fear or desperation and knows exactly what that costs. Here's the reframe I want to leave you with. Paying off your mortgage early is not the mathematically optimal move in a perfect world. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world with layoffs and recessions and health scares and bosses who ask you to do things you shouldn't do. In that world, the real one, a paid-off home isn't just a financial asset. It's a life asset. If this gave you something to think about, hit like, subscribe, and send this to someone you know who's carrying a mortgage and wondering whether they're making the right call. They need to hear this.
Subscribe to the channel if you want to understand money better than most people around you. Here you will learn not just to earn, but to manage your finances so that they work for you. Watch the next video and take another step towards financial freedom.